Well, hello there. Thank you, George, for taking the time to talk with us about your spectacular latest book, out of many, one, Portraits of America's Immigrants. And we love this book for so many reasons, one of them being your beautiful paintings, because art is like reading. It speaks both to our hearts and our minds. So this is a very special book, and thank you for joining us to talk about it. You're a very prolific painter. I know that because I've seen you in action, and you now have two books of paintings to your credit. But you didn't start out that way. So the question is, what led you to take up painting? And I was there when you called Mom, but what did Mom think of your new profession when you started?
Well, first of all, Doro, thank you very much for having me on. I'm a big backer of the Barbara Bush Literacy Foundation, and I want to thank all the backers who were there. This is an effective program. I was kind of antsy. As you know, it's kind of a personality trait at times of mine. And by chance, somebody said, read Winston Churchill's essay, Painting as a Pastime, which I did, and essentially said, I was so motivated by the essay, I said, if he can paint, I can paint. And I told that to Laura, my wife, who nearly fell out. She said, you've lost your mind, man. You never were interested in art. And now all of a sudden you're going to be a painter. I said, that's right. And so I got going. We hired Gail. I've had 3 instructors and took the MoMA course online and started painting. First one was a cube. The next one was like a watermelon or something like that. And then I called Mother. Oh, she actually, anyway, I called her. She said, I hear you're a painter. And I said, I am, Mother. She said, you can't paint. I said, I damn sure can. She said, paint my dog. So I became a pet portrait painter.
Yeah.
To begin with, and then evolved. And painting, as you know, has changed my life. I paint all the time. The lesson is, if I can paint, people listening to this at this conference can paint too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Mom, as you know, she was so passionate about literacy and education. And as we read this book, it was so interesting to me and to everyone at the Barbara Bush Foundation to see that as a through line in the stories. A
Yeah.
connection, yeah. And a connection between all of your subjects is the value that their parents or support system placed on education. Some parents sent their children here for a better education. Some brought them here and insisted that they take advantage of all the educational opportunities available to them. Did that emphasis on education stand out to you too? And why do you think it's such an important value for these new Americans?
You know, it did kind of. I was more interested in their stories of escape from tyranny, or most of them escape from tyranny. I was interested in the groups that helped them. But in retrospect, when I've gone through those stories, there is that common thread of parents saying, "Listen, you got a chance to live in the freest society of all, and we are going, as a family, are going to take advantage of this opportunity, and insist that you uh, learn." And so, a lot of these immigrants, most of the immigrants, took advantage of the educational opportunities and have excelled.
Yeah. These stories reminded me so much of our mother's belief, which still guides the work of the Barbara Bush Foundation today, in the potential of family literacy and education to empower entire families for generations to come. Can you
Yeah.
talk about why reading is so important to you and how it makes all of us better citizens?
Well, if you can't read, you can't succeed. Pretty simple. And one reason I ran for governor of Texas is because I was appalled at the reading scores. We were just shuffling kids through our system without insisting that they have literacy skills necessary to succeed. I call it the soft bigotry of low expectations. And so, I've always been worried about people not being able to read. Study after study says if you can't read at grade level, then you're not going to read as an adult. And if you can't read as an adult, life's awfully difficult for you. And so that's why I appreciate the work the foundation is doing. And that's why these immigrants and newly arrived, they know that. And therefore, they really work hard with their children to get them focused on education and to take advantage of the educational opportunities here in the United States.
Right. So each of the immigrants in this book faced some significant hardships and challenges to become U.S. citizens, and each of the stories in this book are unique. Some of your subjects are well known, like Madeleine Albright and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Henry Kissinger, and some are sports figures like Albert Pujols and Dirk Nowitzki. And then others are just private citizens. What story were you trying to tell with your portraits, and how did you select the people, specific people for your book?
Well, each one is unique. Each story is unique. Of course, I wanted some famous people in there to help sell the book. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki is a famous Dallas Maverick basketball player, and I was hoping to boost sales in the Dallas market, for example. I know that sounds a little crass, but there may be a grain of truth in it.
You're honest.
There you go. But like Kissinger and Albright, if you really think about it, these are people that were, in Henry Kissinger's case, escaped Nazi Germany. Madeleine Albright escaped Nazism in Czechoslovakia and then went back home and escaped communism. They became secretaries of state of our country. These were refugees from ideologies of hate. And it's a remarkable country we have. And so I was trying to point that out. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the guy's a hoot. And I thought it'd be fun to include him. But you're right. Most of the stories are people never heard of. And I obviously wanted to include them because their stories are unbelievably profound as well, if not more so. And, the first guy I put in the book is Joseph Kim, a North Korean escapee whose mother sold his sister in China in order to have money to be able to eat. She gets caught coming back into the country, into North Korea, put in a gulag and dies. And his dad had already died of starvation. This kid's all by himself at age 14 or 15 and survives. And the book talks about his journey to China and how he ends up in the United States. He now works here at the Bush Center. But this is the kind of people we want in our country. I mean, unbelievably courageous kid who took extraordinary risks to come to the land of the free.
Yeah, so many amazing stories in this book. And tell us about Tear Suzuki, who,
Yeah.
escaped Cambodia in the 70s. What was her story, and why did you choose her for the book?
Well, first of all, I got to know her and am incredibly impressed by her character. She's a remarkable woman. She works at Ernst & Young as a big-time partner there. And to think about what it was like for her as a young kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old, coming to the United States, having grown up in the jungle and or refugee camps, escaping the Khmer Rouge, a bunch of cold-blooded killers that were destroying any semblance of middle class. Her father was a successful guy. He ends up bringing his family of 7, thanks to the Catholic Bishops Conference, and he's a janitor at a local elementary school, and her mom works at a cafeteria, probably as a cleaner, all to give their family a chance to succeed. And Tyr took advantage of it. Ended up getting a scholarship at SMU. First of all, learned how to speak English, which meant she could read. She read vociferously and got helped along the way, and now helps others. She's on the Human Rights Commission. She's on the Women's Foundation. I mean, this is a remarkable lady. Got four young boys. And, it was really interesting. When we unveiled her portrait here, I'm at Bush Center at SMU right now. And I said, "What do you think?" She said, "Finally, somebody notices me."
Oh,
That was beautiful. Yeah.
so beautiful. What about Hamdi Ulukaya, who
Yeah.
from Turkey, who made it huge in this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, Hamdi, I got to know him. I was impressed by his personality and his story. He's a Kurd, and his family were shepherds, and therefore they learned how to make goat cheese and yogurt. And he was a college kid in Ankara, Turkey, and began to agitate a little bit for the freedom of the Kurds there in Turkey. And the Turks didn't like it, and therefore he was interrogated at a police station. It frightened him badly, and he realized he needed to go somewhere else to realize his dreams of learning. And he came to the United States on some kind of scholarship, and eventually, he talks about it, how hard it was for him in New York City to settle and all that. But he goes to a college, and a professor says, write a paper on something you know how to do. And he did, on how to make cheese. She happened to own a farm in upstate New York. She invited her student Hamdi to go work on his farm, and he never left. He then took classes in Albany, New York, to help finish his degree. But the amazing thing is, he gets an SBA loan and starts a yogurt company known as Shabani Yogurt. And he's an unbelievable guy, unbelievably successful. But the thing that he does, which is very interesting, is that he now provides jobs for refugees and for people in local communities in which where his factory is. And he's a great guy. And having learned about him and painted him, I now eat Shabani yogurt.
Me too. So the final person um, I want to talk about is someone we both know, and of course that's Paula Rendon, who's an immigrant who became an integral part of our family.
Right.
Can you tell Paula's story and the influence, and talk about the influence she had on all of our lives?
Yeah, well, first of all, you can tell it as well as I can, except for this. In 1959, it just happened to be the year you were born.
Mm-hmm.
I opened the door on Briar Drive, and there was this woman huddled in the middle of a rainstorm, and she had come up from Mexico on a worker program, which, by the way, we need to do here in America, is have a better worker program, and never left our family. I remember how frightened she was, and yet it didn't take her long to take command of a lot of the household, as you know. So I'm 13 years older than you. I know I
Yes.
look a lot older. I look a lot older than that, I know. But anyway, so I wasn't around for most of Paola, but I did know enough about her to know that she worked incredibly hard, tolerated our brothers, probably me to a certain extent. You are always the princess. And
True.
yeah, it's very true. Although you wanted to be the queen. Anyway, and then raised her own family at the same time. But why don't you tell about the funeral? Anyway, I put her in the book because it's a reminder about how fortunate we are to have people like Paula, who became a citizen so she could vote for Dad, in our midst.
She 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 really was amazing, and um, her funeral was remarkable. Looking out on a sea of this, uh, you know, this family, that beautiful family, that many generations. I mean, I think Paula had great grandchildren,
Yeah.
and um, I was there with Marvin and Neil, and I I cried my eyes out, and I told you that I cried more at Paula's funeral than I did at our own mother's, not because I didn't love our mother, but Paula had such an impact. She was my second mother,
Yeah.
and she was an amazing person. But um, how I'm going to ask back to you, sir. I'm interviewing you. Um, how do you think our close relationship with um, Paula, your close relationship, shaped your perspective on immigrants and the value they have to our country?
When I hear the harsh rhetoric about immigration in the political debate, I think of Paola.
Mhm.
I mean, castigating people who simply want to improve their lives, and people cast a wide net when it comes to immigration. Every immigrant, legal or not legal, is condemned, it seems like to me these days. And one reason I wrote this book was to remind people the beauty about immigration. Of course, we want to enforce the borders and enforce the laws, but people like Paula, who came up here as a single woman and worked unbelievably hard. And when she passed away, there were 4 generations of kids who, many of whom went to college and who are contributing citizens to our country. And so, yeah, she had a big influence on me. And, you know, when you're the governor of Texas, you learn a lot about relations with Mexico and the Mexican people and the desire for many to come and do work that needs to be done here in our country. But Paola, yeah, she came, she just wanted a better life and found it. And so did we as a result of her.
Right. We were the benefits of this amazing person. So all of the paintings in this book, like Paula's story, convey such a sense of dignity and hope. Was this something you were trying to convey?
Oh yeah, you know, I don't like the tone, Dorothy, of the debate. You know, I just don't like. I think it's beneath the dignity of the United States, and therefore I wanted to tell stories where people read it and go, "Wow, it's amazing that our country could attract such fascinating, smart, capable people who are in turn making contributions to our country." The other thing I was hoping to point out is the number of groups that help refugees or immigrants either go through the process or escape from the dangers of life they had in their home countries. And it's you know, we're all immigrants, and the book is e pluribus unum. If people want to rush out and buy, you know, a couple of copies, and it out of many one. In other words, we're all from different walks of life, but we're one nation. And I like to add under God.
Hmm. Well, I think people will have a renewed sense of gratitude for all the blessings that we enjoy as Americans when they read this spectacular book that you wrote. I'm so proud of you and I love you.
And I love you too. Thank you very much.